Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I'm but one of your hosts. And joining me, as always, is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how are you doing, pal?
Doing pretty good, Jimmy. How are your holidays, pal?
Oh, just fine. But I have a question for you, Joe. If I were to say, welcome to the jungle, what would you say to that?
We got fun and games.
We got everything you want.
We have all the names. Is that wrong?
Perfect. Dude, it's like we're at the concert. We're like, I'm like the gun and you're like the rose. I mean, guns and roses. Anyway,
yeah. Many times as I've heard that song, it's just such a catchy thing. It just kind of blurs together after a while.
I will tell you this, every time I hear it, I try my best to do yes. Like it's like I
Who
can't
does
do
it
it
though?
same
Who
way.
doesn't? Everybody's got to do that.
It's a good song, and it reminds me of two things. It reminds me of Call of Duty Black Ops, and it also reminds me of Megamind because they play that song in that movie, and I always think about it.
Oh.
Anyway.
Yeah, reminds me of Black Ops for sure. Anywho, yeah, this week's podcast brought to you by Canada Dry Ginger Ale. Cold, crisp, refreshing. Canada Dry.
So, believe it or not, we are actually not sponsored by them. We are crowdfunded, if you're ever curious as to who we are. We are a Patreon group. If you want to check that out and throw us a buck, that'd be great because the Canada Dry people are not returning my calls. Anyway, if this is your first time here, we don't talk about diet, soda pop, and Guns N' Roses completely or exclusively, but we actually a lot of weeks do. But we like to talk movies. We do. We talk movies and games and TV shows, all that good stuff. But it's the end of the year. And I thought, you know what? Let's change it up a little bit. Let's just do a question-focused one. We're going to make a podcast for the people because the people support us and they make this thing a reality. So, like normal on the show, we usually have like a main topic. We go into Timekillers where we talk about our favorite things that we've been doing recently, like watching and stuff like that, and then questions. So this week, we're just going to do the Timekillers and the questions part, and we're going to see how it goes. So anyway, Joe, without further ado, I like to call this segment. You like to call this segment? We like to call this segment
Timekillers.
That's right, it's time for Timekillers. It's the games we've been playing, the movies we've been watching, the TV shows we have been viewing. Joe, I know it's been the holidays, but what have you been killing time with, man, besides hanging out with your family?
Yeah, you know, those pesky holidays, they kind of tend to get in the way of my, my time killing.
I understand this thing.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I haven't been up to too much. I tell you what, it's nothing new. And I'm sure, I hope 98% of the population has seen it, at least in the United States. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. My Christmas tradition. I have to watch it. The family and I watched it. My grandmother watched it, has never seen it, and she was laughing uncontrollably through the entire last 45 minutes.
That's really good. Okay, so what part did she laugh the loudest at? The squirrel
in the Christmas tree.
Is that your favorite part of the whole film?
No, my favorite part of the whole film, I want to say, is Randy Quaid standing on the curb with a cigar in his underwear and a beer in his hand, emptying his shitter from the camper. Shitter's full!
It's like I'm watching the movie.
How dare you? What are you saying? No, I love that part. I think it's funny. I mean, it's not the most hysterical slapstick moment, but it's kind of an iconic moment from that film. Memes all over the internet, the whole thing. But if I was to pick a more slapstick comedy moment similar to the squirrel, I love when he takes off rocketing with flames behind him on the flying flying saucers, what they call them.
I think so. Very dangerous.
Sled. He's got we have a prototype lubricant. Well, I don't know, Clark. Ever since I got the metal plate taken out and see over on this side, not much there.
Okay, so you watch this every year, or you try to. Is it your absolute favorite, National Lampoon movie?
Ooh, the hard-hitting questions.
That's what I want to be, is a hard-hitting podcaster.
You need to roll up the sleeves a little bit, and you need to put the glasses low on your nose, and you need to lean in.
I don't have these things. I'm sorry. But yeah,
gosh darn your 2020. Yeah, I'd have to say it probably is, like, especially out of the Vacation series. This one tops it off. I don't think any of them come close. It's just the Christmas vibe that you get from it and all that. That whole nostalgia piece is too good, and it kind of gives you a reason to bring it out every year. It's like, oh, it's Christmas. This is a Christmas movie I never get tired of.
Yeah.
It's not like I go back to watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer every year. Like, I can only watch that abominable snowman's eyes roll so many times before I have nightmares.
Okay, I was gonna say, it's funny you bring that up, because as a child in my second-story bedroom window, I could swear that thing was coming for me in the night, and it terrified me. Even though at the end, spoiler alert, he's a friend to everybody. The abominable snowman, still terrifying to me, even to this day. Like, if that thing's peeking in a window, oh god! Like,
all right, so Jimmy had an imagination.
Oh,
I won't
does.
lie. When I was a young kid, I still remember it freaked me out a little bit, or it gave me like a weird vibe, and I was like, I thought Christmas was supposed to be happy.
Yeah, man. Bumbles bounce. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Say abominable.
Abominable?
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 What a crazy word. Anywho.
Tonight's grammar lesson is abominable.
Yeah. Interesting fact. You know that Chevy Chase and Bill Murray do not like each other?
I didn't know.
They've only ever been in one movie together. Caddyshack.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. They don't like each other.
I know that Jim
They were on
Carrey
SNL together.
and Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones doesn't like Jim Carrey, apparently. Something like that. It's kind of weird.
Why?
Well, they were like they were an old Batman. I forget, it was Batman Forever or Batman and Robin, one of the two, or something like that.
The Riddler and the Joker.
I think he told him, like, on set one of the first days. This is a story I think I've heard that Jim Carrey would tell us. Like, Tommy Lee Jones came up to him and he kind of like whispered in his ear, like, I think you're like a joke, and I don't think you're talented or anything like that at all. And I was like, whoa, like, it's like
Tommy Lee Jones said that to Jim Carrey.
I was like, whoa, that's pretty rough. That'd be see, for me, I'd be like, hey, how you doing, Mr. Jones? You'd be like, nope. Be like, all right. See ya.
Suck my big toe, you crotchety old man.
I'm sure things
Jim
were
Carrey
said.
is talented. Like, I mean, when he assumes a character, he assumes a character. And
sure. Like, speaking of Christmas stuff, the Grinch, dude.
Yeah, if you really look back at it, who do you think was more successful throughout their career thus far? Tommy Lee Jones is like a foot. He's like a foot into the 6-foot hole. But
I don't know if that determines that he's not successful or not. You're like, you're gonna die soon.
I'm saying that he's kind of pretty much at the end of the line, you know. Jim Carrey, he's still got a little life left in him, but it seems to me he's growing the beard. He's kind of doing his own thing these days.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of painting stuff lately. I don't know. I feel like if you're in Hollywood too long, it just gets to you. Like,
yeah,
it's too much.
He's got one foot into the door of the insane asylum, maybe. I don't know.
I like to think every actor or actress now has one foot into something where it's like, yeah, classic.
It's always some weird quirk. Either they're too old, they're about to die, or they're crazy, or they have an obsession with animal furs.
One foot into the 7-Eleven, if you know what I'm saying. Well, no, I don't know what you're saying. This is perfect. This is really good.
This one spiraled real good.
I like it. Okay. My question, besides National Lampoon and all of that, is I know that you've been playing some Grand Theft Auto lately. I don't know if you've been doing any holiday stuff with that, but did you want to comment on your time back in good old Grand Theft Auto 5?
We haven't talked about GTA 5.
We've talked about it briefly, I think.
Briefly. Okay, let me give you the rundown. Me and Drewski, right? Drewski, one of our buds. We are the Knuckle Dusters Syndicate.
An offshot of the Fedora Syndicate, which is a very successful mob.
Because Jimmy used to be the leader of the Fedora Syndicate. If you couldn't tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you mean used to be? I still am. I just am like retired.
Yeah, he kind of disappeared. So Drew and I had to go off on our own. We're another Knuckle Duster Syndicate. And we own a gun running bunker, a bunker where we manufacture and run weapons out of. And then we also own a warehouse down by the docks where we manufacture cocaine. We have about 14 workers. They all stand there in their underwear and cut and package cocaine.
Just remember, everybody, this is in the game Grand Theft Auto 5. This is not a confession of Joe's like drug running, gun smuggling world. Like, you know.
I mean, yeah, you're right. You aren't recording this, right? Come on.
Recording what? I always tell you, Joe, I'm the only person who sees these.
That's even creepier, but okay. Let's go see what I talked to Joe about the other day.
Yeah. And then it'd be even weirder still that I had a bunch of questions from people. Like, I made fake Twitter accounts, and I was just like, this would be great. That'd be too much work.
So
oh my gosh.
tweeting myself all the time.
Oh, hey, I got a retweet. Oh, it's from me.
It's just me again.
Anyway, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Grand Theft Auto 5. I'm losing it. Anyway, Grand Theft Auto 5. So yeah, we got the Coke lab where we're running Coke. We got the gun bunker where we're running guns and weapons. It's really fun. Like, you're always running from like the country where our bunker is to town and back and forth, and you're doing like sea missions where you're flying like a seaplane and dropping off crates of cocaine or guns. And the thing, you know, you're constantly going out to get supplies and bring them back as well. So it's kind of two-part missions. It's either gathering or delivering. And you constantly make money, keep building up a reputation and building up the bank account. And it's kind of interesting. New little quirks to each mission that you do. They're not all totally straightforward. And I think the most fun part about it, but can also be the most stressful and annoying part about it, is that you have to deal with other online players.
Yeah.
But typically they'll give you like an armored vehicle or something of that nature to deliver your supplies or your guns or your drugs. And so it's not like they'll blow you up immediately, and you can always kind of retaliate with some sort of gun or whatnot. Like, for instance, I delivered a bunch of supplies back to our warehouse for Coke, and I had a guy with an armored car like what you typically drive. He just kept chasing me and trying to shoot me, and really he couldn't do anything. I just maintained my course and made sure I didn't get spun out or anything crazy.
Sure.
And they couldn't really get me. I think he even tried a sticky on me one time, and it just kind of bounced me up in the air. So they kind of adjust it to make sure that you're not totally just squashable, right?
Oh, I would say that, but that was one guy who just chased me down for like 20 minutes, and he just kept doing that to me. And I'm like, I just can't even, because once you can't turn passive mode back on if you're part of a gang. Because I was like, oh, I'll turn passive mode on, so he'll just go right through me. He can't do any damage to me. He's like, nope, he just follow me around, just kept gunning me down. I was just like, please leave me alone. Please.
Yeah, I've had that maybe once since I started playing GTA again, but overall I've had a good time. Drew and I have started to branch out a little bit besides just doing these little missions. As we've started to interfere with other rival gangs running supplies, and we interrupted a couple, and it was kind of a good time. Really
Cool.
was. So
Do you get to capture their supplies then?
yeah, and you can take them for yourself. And not only do you get the supplies, but it also, I don't know if you get money, but you also get just a reputation bonus, so XP and stuff. But it really is. It's a good time. I'm still enjoying it. I haven't had any bad issues as far as like, you know, joining up with Drew or anything like that. And the thing that's nice about the gang business running type deal, if you're in the gang, you're in the gang. There's no, load into the lobby. Oh, you're going to need one more player. It's either you and another guy, or you and the other guy who have joined your gang, and that's it. Yeah. If you start the mission, they're in, which I love. So it kind of takes care of a couple issues right off the get-go. But
yeah. You know what's interesting about this is that they've added all this stuff in there, which is crazy, and they've done a really good job of supporting, the GTA online stuff like that. I feel like them slipping in the gun running and all the drug stuff works a lot better after the game's been out for a while. Because if you were to come out with this game, be like, hey, we've got Grand Theft Auto 5 right here and the Grand Theft Auto Online, and if you really want, you can run like a Coke Lab or whatever. And like, I feel like people would be up in arms more so at the beginning, whereas like it's been out for a while, they just kind of were like, hey, it's just gonna slip it in there. Like,
all the kids already own the game, so if they slip it in later, the parents never know. What are you doing there, kid? Delivering some baby powder to a nursery?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I will say this. I did have some fun playing with you guys because I played a little bit with you. One of the best moments that we had is that we stole a golf cart and we drove around for a bit. A golf cart without a top on there, but it moves pretty fast.
Dude, okay, hold on, pause. If any of our listeners / viewers have ever played GTA 5, have you ever found a golf cart out in the desert? Like, you're just going 90 miles an hour towards your destination. All of a sudden, you pass something. You're like, what the hell was that? You go back and check it out. It was a little golf cart. Turns out this golf cart does like 70 miles an hour.
I thought we took it off a guy like in the desert town. Like we saw a guy.
We did. Like, hey. It was out in the middle of the desert, and it was a little town, and we drove by it, and I was like, what was that? And you're like, Joe, don't get distracted. Sure enough, we turn around, we go look. I'm like, Jimmy, we need it. And Jimmy goes way down the road, shoots the guy, gets it, comes driving back to me, and and we hop on it, and Jimmy's driving. He's behind at like 70 miles an hour, and all you hear is this little electric golf cart just we're just flying, and we're totally exposed. I'm like holding my gun out, and he's doing jumps off of the sand dunes all the way to the bunker, and there was just something very comical about it. You know, two big guys, little golf cart, just zooming.
Yep, Fedora Syndicate for life.
Yeah,
I mean, Knuckle Dusters or whatever. I don't know. Whatever, you know. That's all
right.
It
was a good time. It was a good time. Just funny little things like that are always happening in an open world game like that. So
yeah, I'm hoping that the shooting gets better though. It's still not the greatest. A lot of it's like kind of snap to shoot, and then you kind of aim up a little. Like it's just kind of, I don't know.
And sometimes, I don't know, I feel like I'd have trouble if it wasn't, because other style games with third-person shooter, you can, when you aim like that, you seem to have a better vantage or view of your enemy. Like this, you're at such awkward angles sometimes and all over the place, like it almost has to snap. Otherwise, you would almost never – you'd pop up the aim at them, and by the time you're aiming at them, you're getting shot down. You know what I mean?
Maybe I just feel like, you know, like we played Gears of War 4 together, and I feel like they just have the best like third person. Gears have always had that, the third person shooting controls, and the cover. They really emphasize cover. They have cover in Grand Theft Auto, but it's kind of like weird. You kind of slide into it awkwardly, and it's kind of hard to get in and out of it. For Gears, I feel like you just do the Gears thing. Just talk to them, like the Coalition. They can help you. Like they will. Everything else in that game is great. Like just do that.
I think the scale is a little different too.
Oh, obviously, yeah. I mean, like you're saying, it's much different. However, I still feel like there have been times in Gears where it's been like a weird big area, and there's still I've never been like, oh man, I can't really get a perfect angle on this. Like it's usually pretty good unless you're holding like some sort of like heavy weapon and you're kind of trying to aim down on stuff. Sometimes that gets a little awkward.
Sure.
But yeah. Also, I'm interested to see, you know, because Red Dead Redemption 2 is supposed to be coming out this spring, you know, and I'm interested to see what their online stuff is, because with Grand Theft Auto, I think there's a lot of things you can add into it. It can be much wackier and crazier than any type of Old West game can be, with like all the cars and the updates and all that stuff. Because it's like it's kind of hard to do that in the West. So I'm interested to see how they're going to try to get people to get this game and then just have them keep coming back, like the online community for Grand Theft Auto has.
Yeah, that's a good point. You think that they'll take it and maybe. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's something to be said about the Old West role playing. Like, if I watch a Western show, or like when I was watching, oh gosh, what's
Godless.
Godless. Man, why can I never think of that?
I feel like you're like your brain's receptionist. I'm like, yes, sir. It was Godless, and it was last Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. You know, you should. Do you need it? I could hire you for that.
There's not enough money in this world, pal.
Probably not. Yeah. I don't think anybody could take that burden. Anywho, There's something about role playing in that old West style stuff. I mean, think of that. Like when I'm watching, I keep wanting to say Hell on Wheels, but I know that's a totally different show.
Close enough. I mean,
close,
it's close
enough. But or Hellless,
Yeah.
Godless. Anywho,
Gotcha. I see what you're doing. There was like Elvis. What?
Hellless. I don't know. All right. Sorry, focus, Joe. Focus. Yeah, like when I'm watching Godless, which was a show on Netflix, a miniseries I really liked a lot. That whole Western vibe, the nostalgia to it, and the whole tracking people through the hills or the canyons and the brush on horseback and river crossings and trains and little ghost towns and all that sort of cool stuff. I mean, there are a lot of neat kind of almost spooky aspects to like the old Western law and that whole vibe where you can really add in a lot of like cool little missions. Like there's a bounty set on this guy, and even if it's online, say it's like a public mission you can join in, or like heists like they have for GTA. Stuff like that could be a lot of fun. And you got your crew and the bandits, and you set out into the hills to find this guy and bring him back for the bounty. Or you kill him and bring his body back for half the price.
Yep. It's easier that way.
I'm just saying that there are some options there, but the thing is, yeah, you're right. It's not going to get as unlimited and so many variations like GTA has, because the vehicles are a big deal. Planes, trains, automobiles, tanks. What am I missing? Motorcycles, boats,
jet skis.
Yeah, it's really limitless. They have flying cars now, for crying out loud. I mean, it's pretty unreal. The hyper cars and stuff. So I feel like Red Dead's probably going to have a much more intimate feeling to it, and maybe it'll have much more of a through line to it, like almost like your main goals, storyline, that type of thing, even in the multiplayer online. So I'm interested as well. I just kind of wanted to expand on that. What kind of options do they have, or do I think it'll be interesting? I do. I think they do have some options on the table, but you're right in your statement that it can't be as limitless as GTA. Because your options are endless.
Yeah, well, we should be either way getting some information about that sooner or later. And it does seem like from the teaser that we've seen that it's going to be focused on kind of maybe building up your own gang, or at least the story and the campaign will be about that. Because I think it's going to be a prequel, potentially maybe, to the first Red Dead Redemption, not Red Dead Revolver. It gets confusing, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that if you want to set up like a gang of banditos, or if you want to be a gang of lawmen. Maybe that's what you're going to do. And like you decide when you make your gang if you're going to be the good guys or the bad guys. The only problem is if you're going to be the good guys, the lawmen, they have to do something to highly incentivize you to be good people. So if they try to go that route, they have to be like, oh, this is just as cool as robbing a train. And you're like, yeah, it's me sitting in a rocking chair all day in front of the bank. It's like
drinking whiskey.
It's like you get the whiskey drinking game. That's only for the lawmen. And it's like, okay, thanks. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah,
but anyway.
what do you think? I mean, would you play lawman? Would you consider it?
I don't know. It'd have to be pretty cool. But because I want to rob a train, man. I want to rob a train.
If you were a lawman and you used your position to your advantage and you were a dirty cop.
That's true. Like going to the casino, and then maybe you could also be like on the train, and you could like wait for other players to show up and try to steal from it, and you had to protect it for like 10 minutes, and you're like just sitting down there. That'd be cool. Yeah. More like a bounty hunter kind of thing. That'd be kind of cool. Anyway, you've been playing Grand Theft Auto. You've been watching National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. What else have you been doing? Anything else?
I don't know. We gotta cut this head off the snake and measure it somewhere. So.
Okay, fair enough. Well, then it's my turn. All right. So
it's Jimmy's turn.
What
do you got, pal?
I've talked plenty about Star Wars. All right. We talked about it last week. I made a review of it. Please check those both out. And I just saw it again recently. I stand by my score. What that score is, I don't know. You tell me. I still want to hear yours. And Joe, I want you to go see it because I know you're not beholden to Star Wars like a lot of people are. So maybe you'd have interesting thoughts. Anyway, Besides that, the big thing I want to talk about, I have been playing some Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It was a gift for Christmas. I love it. It's very good. The Switch, I won't lie to you guys, it's grown on me a lot. So at first I was like, I wouldn't really use this thing like in just like the little tablet mode. But I found myself like, if the TV's on or you want to go hang out with some people or whatever, you just bring the Switch with you, and it's pretty impressive. Like the technology on there, I'm impressed. Color me impressed. However, I'm not going to talk about the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I want to talk about the Monster Hunter World beta. I got to play this past weekend. It was great. It was really, really fun. Now, there is a little bit of a learning curve, and I got to play with a friend of the show, Ben Moore, humble brag. But it was really fun to play with him and kind of figure out some things. And it was kind of tricky because I was using a bow, and he was using the charge blade or something else. And there's this one combo you can use with the bow when you're hunting these big monsters, and you kind of like shoot up some rocks in the air. But apparently, as good as that move is, it kind of like knocks people back, and some weapons kind of have this ability. And I heard somebody call it it's like friendly fire. I don't do damage to my friends, but it might knock them out of whatever combo that is. So keep that in mind if you're going to be hunting with friends, like what your weapon is and what it could potentially do. Like if you accidentally hit somebody with it, if it'll knock them down or knock them away. It won't do damage to them, but it might knock them out of whatever they're doing. However, yeah, reckless. I'm reckless. But I will say this. I really liked, was it the heavy bow gun, which is just like this big kind of like, just like basically a big gun. And it had a bunch of different weapon type or ammo types built into it, which I really liked because if you shot something enough with like a paralysis bullet, Joe, like eventually you could paralyze the thing, or you shoot enough with poison and it would take poison damage over time. That was really cool. But then its special ability, because every gun kind of has a special ability, is that you'd hit circle and it turned into just like a machine gun. Just that had like so much ammo, and then it had like a meter that you could use so much of or whatever. But when it went away, you could like wait and it would recharge it up, and it was special to that. So you just like basically Scarface, just say hello to my little friend. It was just really cool. In the game, everybody's using like these axes and spears and swords and stuff, and you're just like, all right, just like really, it was like felt good. Just rack up that damage, baby. But yeah, dude, it's such a cool game. It's just like you group up, you go off by yourself, you can do this stuff, just like hunting down these monsters in this cool world that is changing so much. And these fights you have with these things, they move from place to place. So you might start in like a dense forest, then you're going to eventually move out like into the plains, or sometimes you're going to start off like in a swamp and move into the desert and vice versa. So every fight and every hunt you go on, kind of like Evolve, is different every time. Every time it's different. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you can get caught in between a battle of behemoths. Like you're hunting this thing and it's running away from you. It gets in a fight with something else. And then they start fighting in front of you. And you're just like, kind of like.
Seriously.
Yeah, it gets out of control. It's like, okay, all right. And then, if you do it right, if you have the insect glaive, which is like this big spear, has this combo that you can like jump up with, or if you jump off a cliff and you like land on a monster and attack it, there's a chance you can mount it. So when you mount these things, you grab onto them and you kind of stab them with your knife a bunch, and then you kind of have to like brace at certain times or move to different positions. So it's like if you're on its head and it's gonna like ram its head into a wall, you kind of like jump to its back. Then eventually you pull out whatever weapon is your choice of weapon. So like if it's me, it's a heavy bow gun. It's like I have it like in the back of its head, or like my big like long sword, and I'm just like swinging it eventually with that thing. It downs it. It lays on the ground, and then you just start going to town out there. It's great, man. It's just really
so can you ride the thing around? And
yeah, you do for a little bit as you're trying to bring it down, because you're doing like little bits of damage as you're like stabbing it in the back or whatever, and it's just like it's trying to shake you off, and you're just like nope, like and then you finally just start going to town with your main weapon. It's good stuff. There's a lot, though.
I thought I could like tame a dragon, ride it around, and use the dragon to kill other creatures.
That I'm not sure that's not a possibility. I will say this, though. You do have a little friend. They're called palicos, and you're like a little cat buddy. He's a little bipedal cat buddy. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they can either team up with other cat-like palicos in the world, or they can even sometimes like garner the trust or somehow like tame another smaller monster in the world. So sometimes I was running around with my palico friend and then like another like little lizard thing that just joined the party. So it would like draw aggro for me as I fought, and I'm like, hey, little lizard guy, do some work. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. And I don't know if they'll take that to like the next level. Like if you're hunting a huge monster later on, if one of the first things you hunted as like a boss, like you could tame that? I don't know. It just seems like the possibility is there. So
interesting. So navigating the world and getting around, obviously you have a map and all that. So does your little Palico buddy tame like a medium-sized monster that you can like ride, like a giant ostrich or something, so you can
Not,
transport quickly?
not that I saw
So it's all
yet.
hiking.
Yes, but you can fast travel between campsites. And there are a bunch of
Oh,
campsites. So it's like, or like, oh, I have to get up. I think this thing's going to be over here. So you go up over there. However, the tracking is pretty fun because like you kind of like tracking. You see like footprints, or you'll see like some of them will like produce mucus and put it on the walls. Then you're like scraping it off with a knife into like a bottle, and you're like, as you track it, like there's a little meter that goes up, and eventually you have these scout flies that kind of show you the way. So then you're just like tracking the monster constantly. So the first part, like Evolve again, is so you're like, okay, where the heck is this thing? And then once you finally get a beat on it, unlike Evolve, where you're like, great. Hopefully it scares some birds. Like in this one, it's like, nope, I know it went this way. I'm following it this way. So yeah. The only complaint I have, which I think they're going to remedy, is that in the beta, it only gave you 20 minutes to kind of run around on any given mission. So you had to like pick a thing to hunt down. So the Anjanath is like a big kind of like T-Rex looking thing. You only had 20 minutes to do that, so you had to find it and take it down. However, like sometimes you want to hunt down different monsters because there's just other monsters in the world that you don't have a contract for. There's just not a lot of time to like try to do that and then also go after the Anjanath because you're like, oh, you failed your mission, but you like you didn't complete that task, but you might have done something else. So in the regular full game, I think it's going to be 50 minutes, and that's 50 or longer. So gives you more time if like you screw up, because sometimes it'd be like I wasn't gonna die. It was just like time ran out, and I was like, nope, time's up, you're done. And it's like, okay.
So cover your basic types of weaponry real quick. Did you see pretty much everything that we'll see for the full game?
Yes, I think there's like 14 or 15 different weapon types in this game,
Yeah.
and if you can name it, they probably have it or a version of it. So, but anyway, you've got like I'm sure you could distill it down, and I'm sure people who played Monster Hunter, they're like, Jimmy, there's like these 3 different types. But you've got your kind of bigger, heavier weapons. You've got your ranged weapons. Then you have your faster, more dynamic, kind of quick, doing a lot of attacks very.
So this is kind of a time period piece, right? So it's no machine guns, no assault rifles or bazookas, rocket launchers, none of that.
Oh, yeah. No, they do have that. Because, like, when I was saying the heavy bow guns kind of got, like, a machine gun built into it. I mean, I'm, like, shooting bullets. So it's, like, kind of in between, like, that, like, old school style swords, but then also, like, tech weapons and stuff. So it's, like, a bit of both. Yeah. So that way you're not, like, you kind of have the thing in the middle, which is, like, the actual bow, but then you have a bow gun. So.
Okay, so you can get, like, assault rifle type things.
Kind of.
Weapons.
Kind of. It's, like, you won't be shooting as fast with like as an assault rifle would, unless you're using like that super powered ability from that heavy bow gun, which allows you to like shoot in rapid succession. Every other bullet's like bam, 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 bam. It's not like like the whole time like that special ability.
Weaponry is a little more crude, typically made out of wood or like a forged metal, like a sword.
I'd say it's like all metal, like all kind of like interesting looking though. I don't know. It's like their special design. So like my favorite thing was the longsword, but it was called like the Wyvern blade. So it looked like almost kind of like the wing of a dragon, like a super long. Think of the Kensei Joe. It's like a Nodachi sword. It was like an 8-foot long or 7-foot long sword that I'm just like slicing like that. Like I could chop down the lawn in like 2 swings, like that kind of thing, which I was like, Also, that weapon, very good at taking off the tail of enemies, which I think is really cool. This is something Horizon did. It's like if you take off like a tail or something, not only can you get special like items specifically from that portion of the monster, but also you limit its attacks. So it's like if it has a really powerful tail swing, if you fight it and it's like I'm just focusing on the tail and I take that off, eventually it'll try to do a tail swing. You're not going to get hit. It's like it's really cool. Yeah, I love that sort of thing. But yeah, it kind of was like, I think the biggest thing is if you're going to play with 4 people all together, you got to kind of figure out like, are you going to do like
good team comp?
Yeah, good 2 close range people, 2 far away, maybe 3 close, like 1 far away, depending on what weapons you have. You don't want to be like knocking each other around. So it's like, all right, Joe, you're going to take the hammer, and it's really good at stunning and knocking out the monster. So you're going to go up and just basically hit this thing in the face with it until it gets stunned or knocked down. I'm going to be in the back with my greatsword trying to chop off its tail and not try to hit you. We're going to try to stay away from each other because we don't want to hit each other. And like Drew's in the back with like the heavy bow gun, just going, shooting stuff at it, trying to paralyze it, trying to poison it, or whatever, Not that you can't all get up close, or maybe he'll use the insect glaive. He'll run up with a spear, jump up, and be like on its back, stabbing it too. I don't know. The Kinsect part of the insect glaive, it gets a little crazy. Like with that spear I'm talking about, you can position this bug to go out and like attack the feet, the head, the torso, or the tail, and it gives you different buffs depending, like health, damage, speed, what have you. But then if you get all those buffs together, you get like a super buff on you. So like when you're doing that, it gives you more attack animations because like your combos go up because you have all those buffs on you. So like some of those insect glaive people who are really good at it, they're just like going nuts, like this super long combo, like flying in the air. It's like, oh wow.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty crazy. But and the nice thing is that the weapon I was using was like pretty basic. The greatsword, it was just like had a few big combos. I learned its special abilities because each like weapon, every gun, all these things have kind of special meters or something different about them comparatively to the other weapons. But it just worked out really well. I just really preferred it. So
Cool.
yeah.
And, I like the idea that there are swords in there, and I like the idea that they're, they measure up.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, I kind of saw you as like, I feel like Joe would be like either you said kind of like a ranged person, or I'm seeing you with like a big, like a great sword, or like a big lance and shield kind of guy where you can like you can take and stop a hit, and like instead of like dodge rolling out of the way with a lot of classes, the guys with like the shields, they can like block and just like hold the line and be like stab. It's pretty cool.
So something that's been bugging me here that I really want to get out on the table is what. Can you take us through a little bit of what you saw as far as monster composition? I know you said kind of a T-Rex type of beast. I saw in your stream a little bit, but I did see, and I can't remember if it was yours or one of the Easy Allies guys, Ben, I believe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think I saw like a dragon creature.
Yes.
Winged dragon. Is there anything else? Does it get more diverse? Do you see something like maybe like a bipedal humanoid troll type guy, or do you see like some sort of worm creature, or is it all kind of reptilian, dinosaur-esque?
So far, the stuff I've seen and hunted primarily is like that. So the three main targets you have, the first one's called the Great Jagras. He's like a big yellow kind of lizard chameleon guy. So pretty not super crazy, kind of like big, like, I don't know, not fronds, but big like kind of things off the side. Nothing super nuts.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, which I think might be the most interesting to me, is called, I think it's a Baroth. It looks kind of like a T-Rex if you covered it all in rocks and then put like a big rock thing on the front of its head. The cool thing about that one is if you attack it head on, literally, your weapon's gonna like usually bounce off unless it's like a hammer, which I think you can like chip away at it maybe. So like you can't attack the head even with like a greatsword. It's like dink, dink. He was really cool, and he had an attack later on where he'd go into like the mud, and he would like get into a swamp and like cover himself with it, and then shoot out all this like he'd shake off the mud, and if you like walked by the mud, you'd slip and fall into it. So that was pretty cool. And then the Anjanath, like I said, was kind of like a big T-Rex sea dragon. He's got like a fire breath. He kind of would do like a Dilophosaurus. He's got like also like a Spinosaurus. Like he put up like fins in the back and stuff in the face. But the weirdest thing I saw, I think it was called like a Puke. It looked like a dragon and like a chameleon with like the big eyes and like some other bird thing were like combined. It was like this, and it had like a really long neck. It would shoot out this big like purple tongue thing. It could fly.
Wow.
It was really crazy looking. Like some of the designs, there were like some that were pretty basic, which were just like dinosaurs. It'd be like, oh, this is like a Parasaurolophus or an Ankylosaurus or whatever. But with that one in particular, the ones you're hunting typically are usually the ones that are a little bit different. And this is just a small smattering of the stuff from like the concept art and like some of the images we've seen of the game. I think there's like griffin dragon things and really crazy looking stuff. So this is just, I think, a taste as opposed to showing you like the coolest monsters. Oh, not to mention, there's this thing that I tried to kill by myself and it wouldn't work, but it's called Diablos. It was this big kind of like the Baroth. Yes, it's like the Baroth. So think of that Puke thing. So it's like a dragon kind of in form, but it had like these big stone horns on it, and then it was like covered in stone. And like it was very powerful. Like one or two hits and I was dead. Like I couldn't. It was so hard to fight by myself. I got a horn or two off of it, but it was really cool and it had this big like kind of like crazy spiked tail, and it was just like, wow, what am I even looking at here? What am I even fighting? So some of the stuff, it just seems like they took an idea and then just like, hey, let's just cover that in stone. It's like, here you go. But it was different enough and much more powerful, and it was just a crazy looking face. So yeah.
I'm seeing the image of that kind of rock type T-Rex thing you were talking about.
Oh yeah, the Baroth or whatever, I think.
Yeah, kind of almost like a crest.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
A little flatter at the end, but it's kind of bony, rocky looking.
It's like
it's not literally rock. It is like, what would you call it? Almost like an exoskeleton of bone, or something of that nature.
It's like that Atrocitus mask in Injustice 2, the one where like covers his face.
Exactly. Yeah. Right on. Yeah, this is kind of interesting though. I'm seeing like because I just had to. I'm so curious because this is probably the part that gets me the most about this game is like the art behind it and the monster design. I'm seeing like some sort of almost a woolly mammoth-esque creature with like a big crested plated head. And it's kind of like purple, red, and white. It looks like, so if that's really a creature, they've shown it with a little bit of snow on its hooves or feet or whatever you want to call it, and so maybe there's a snowy portion of the map or something that could be really cool.
For sure. There's two main areas, the Jagras one and the Anjanath, that were kind of in the same, where it was kind of like a tropical like island. There was kind of like a beach area and then like a dense forest, and then the Baroth is more in like this canyon desert, which was also attached to a swamp, but they were two kind of separate areas. So I wouldn't be surprised to see like an Arctic region, which would probably be my favorite because I basically live in an Arctic region. So it's like, does snow affect me? Am I going to slip and fall on it? But yeah, that's something to consider too. Good call.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm getting at here is, as I look at some of this concept art, there is really some cool stuff out here. Mostly looks kind of a little bit more reptilian style. Some of it I've seen a little bit with like, feathery, dragony looking creatures. That really, I mean, endless options for something like this. I mean, you can get so creative, which I love that aspect of it. I think that's just awesome. I was trying to pick out a couple others. They've got like some four-legged kind of lizard armadillian creatures.
Yes.
That's kind of cool.
I would say another one that was weird that I got to fight that would actually fight the Baroth from time to time was like this big, it looked like a catfish, but it had like 4 appendages that were kind of like fins, but it would kind of crawl and stuff. So it was like this kind of catfish snake type of thing. And what it would do is it would go under, like into the swamp, it would come up and it would wrap itself around the Baroth and then like try to bite it. And this is like all while I was fighting it. I was like I was like fighting both of them at the same time. I'm like, who do I attack? So that kind of stuff was really cool to see. It was like, and I'd see that, I saw it a few times, but every time I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. Like it just gets insane, just intense. Just like, okay, 2 monsters are fighting.
Is this the first rendition of Monster Hunter?
No, Monster Hunter has been around for a long time, but this is the first one that's coming to, I think, this generation of consoles, and it's also coming, it's cross-platform as well. It's kind of, it started off on PlayStation back in the day, but I believe it was kind of a Nintendo franchise for a while, more for the handheld things. But now it's finally coming more so to like the big consoles, which is good because I think for a game like this caliber, not that these types of games can't be on on handheld consoles, but to put them on these big, machines, bigger machines, and like big crazy worlds on big TVs is like, okay, cool. Show me how big this monster really looks instead of like my little, like, oh, nice little screen. I was like, wow, like that's huge. So yeah. I really dig it.
Man, as I go through, I need to stop, but we could spend hours on this. This mammoth thing is pretty cool. I wonder if you would even have to fight it, though. It seems too cool to fight.
I left the herbivores alone because, like, to me right now, especially because I wasn't like taking stuff back to camp to like upgrade stuff because it was just like little missions. I was like, I don't want to fight these things. I'm like, they just stay out of my way. I'll stay out of your way. So
here's something that's interesting is, and I don't know if this is fan art or if this is actually the real deal. Drill Tusk Tetsukabra. It's got like 2 really large, like almost like hippopotamus style tusks coming out of its bottom jaw and a really wide gaping mouth. And it is, I mean, I guess no one knows what a chupacabra would look like if it existed, but it's kind of almost monkey-ish, but more reptilian. It's really
Yeah,
kind of neat looking, but
this is crazy looking. Actually, it kind of like reminds me a little. It's like slightly frog-like too.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, something like that. I mean, especially if the scale was right, like if it was like bear sized, and you had to fight that. But in a big hunting party, is that really something to take on? I don't know. Either way, just cool stuff. And then I guess last but not least, Jimmy, since I know we can spend all night talking about monster designs, what about your own character design?
So that's a good question. For the beta, you could kind of pick and choose a few just like preset loadouts for like your face. So it wasn't. It was mostly just pick male or female, and here's like 6 options to choose from. Didn't really matter because you were going to put on like a helmet anyway, or like a hood or something. And in the beta, certain things gave you certain bonuses. So I kind of was looking the same most of the time. I looked like some sort of weird knight because I just basically took everything that boosted my attack and my recovery time. As far as like, because you take a hit for health and it would be like, all right, you took this much damage, but then it would be like red for this portion. So it would like kind of fill back up if you didn't get hit again. So it's like if your recovery time was up, it'd go a little bit faster.
Do monsters recover?
Monsters can recover a little bit. So basically what happens is if they take too much damage, they'll kind of limp away, and then they'll either go kind of retreat to their nest to like chill out and sleep, or they'll go try to, some of them will eat other monsters, I think, to regain either energy or health. And the monsters do get tired, which is really crazy to see. So you'll be fighting this big thing, it's doing all these attacks, and it's like, so like you have stamina, but they also have stamina. So if they use it too much, then you just get free hits in while the thing's just like trying to catch his breath. It's like, okay.
It's horrible.
Yeah, I do. I feel bad about it. But anyway, so I think there's going to be some good customization as far as your look goes. But I wonder if a lot of that is going to be just stat focused, or if eventually you're like, yeah, I really like this hood, but it gives me a defense boost, and I'd rather have it give me an attack boost. If you'll be able to transmorgify, if they kind of do the same thing like Blizzard does. But it seemed like some of the stuff was pretty cool, and that your hunter will usually look pretty sweet no matter what. But a lot of the time I wasn't thinking about that because I'm like, there's this giant thing in front of me, and like I'm just like focused on it and my weapon, which was like that super big longsword. I was like swinging it around, big fire attacks and stuff. I'm like, okay, so yeah.
So, yeah, good to know, and well spoken, Jimmy. A lot of the detail you laid on us is great.
Thank you. Well, I think we'll go into more detail once it comes out, obviously.
I'm real interested in this game, mainly because of the design and the environment. The environment looks amazing, but as I look at more and more concept art, because I'm kind of hooked on it now. If anybody who doesn't know me knows that or anybody who knows me knows.
Yep.
My nose. Knows that I get real into like cool concept art, especially like monsters. I just think monsters are it's almost like tattoos, I just feel like there's so much creative freedom there, and you're creating something that's totally unique and badass. But anywho, as I continue to page through this here, I'm seeing a lot of concept art for like your hunter, your character, and the different armors and things. And oh my gosh, endless options from what I see here. It looks really cool.
And that's the nice thing about a franchise that's been around for so long is that they could just really pull from old assets and just say like, hey, maybe they're just going to take a lot of those. I don't know if it's all new. It could all be new, but at the very least, they have a foundation of what the game is going to be, so they could spend a lot of time working on how these things look and how you look as a player and give you more options. It's supposed to be like, yep, this is our first Monster Hunter game, and we kind of were worried about getting the controls down and all of that. It's like, nope, we already have that. We already have all the weapons and ready to go. We have a few new things here and there, obviously, but here's like a crazy amount of options to choose from. I hope that's going to be there. I think it is, but I don't know yet. So
yeah. So are we saying as you kill certain monsters, you can use their parts as armor and equipment?
Yes, you can take, I think, materials from them and then bolster both your weapons and your armor. I don't know if it's to the point where it's like, hey, Joe, you really like that, chest plate, and you killed an Anjanath, and now we're taking a piece of that and putting it on there. So like the helmet I was wearing and like the helmet I put on my Palico, those were like have the name like Anja helmet or whatever. So it looked like the scales of one of those things. So you're like, I kind of look like a mini version of one of these in a weird little way. So I'm not sure if that's how deep it would go if you were to pull a part off a monster. Like, okay, I'm putting this on my boots, for example. Like, okay. Yeah, I don't think,
okay.
I'm not sure. So, yeah, I'm excited about it, and I think it would make for some good times, some good streams, but just some good times hunting down things.
Oh, and here's a monster for you. Picture a pterodactyl, and this is leading into a question, so don't worry.
Okay.
Picture a pterodactyl
Uh-huh.
or a pteranodon, a large one, like from Jurassic Park 3.
Picturing.
And then multiply it times about 5, so it's even bigger. And then give it the nose of a, what do they call those sharks? A saw shark, where it's got the really long bill and the teeth that jut out the side.
Oh no, I was thinking of a goblin shark for a second, but maybe you're right. It's a saw something.
Saw shark. Oh man, I forget. I know that they're studied majorly. They live in deep ocean. Anywho,
saw shark.
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting right here. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
Anywho, concept art of a monster that looks like that is what I'm seeing here, and it is basically kind of that. It's like almost like a saw shark, swordfish, pteranodon cross.
Whoa, what's
and
it called?
It's got like the legs of a T-Rex. And I just had to describe this because it's really pretty neat. And I guess, how do you combat creatures that fly? That's the question I was leading into.
Okay, first off, what's the thing called? I need to look it up.
I don't know what it's called, but I'm going to send it to you right now. Check the chat.
All right, here we go.
Bear with us, people. Bear with us. Cue the elevator music.
I just have a ton of images here. Oh, this. Yeah. So I'm not sure if this works because when I was fighting that thing, I told you the puke thing. I was like focusing its wings. I'm like, okay, it's at parts broken off, and I was like, maybe the wings don't. Maybe it can't fly. However, I'm not sure because it like still flew away, and then I just had to hunt it down again. Like you kind of, when you're tracking it, you're like, okay, if you've tracked it to a certain level, it's like I'll follow it wherever. But if it gets away and you haven't, you're like, okay, it left something here. I'm gonna pick this up, or it left a footprint or whatever. So yeah, I don't know if you can keep them from flying, but I wouldn't be surprised if you could, because if you can take a tail off, if you can like get rid of a wing, if you can damage a wing, then I wouldn't be surprised to.
Okay.
But
so they have that option to fly away if they want and just not engage, but typically they're aggressive and they engage.
Yeah, and most of the world is not like free roam exploration insofar that you can't like, they'll show you like on a map that there are like trails and stuff to follow, and usually the monsters kind of stick to that. So it's not like they're going to a place where you can't get to them. There'll always be a place like they'll land and you'll be like, okay, I can get to this thing. It's not like, oh man, I have to go like climb a mountain and go down a mountain. It's like, oh no, there's a path around the mountain. There's like a path underneath. So yeah, I think that's usually what I would say to do that. Or maybe if you paralyze it out of the air with a heavy bow gun, who knows? If you did that, if you just like would fall and crash, that would be sick. That'd be really cool. Oh, I forgot to mention this too. There's like trees and big rock columns that will like explode when you're fighting these things. Like, oh, it's just part of the land, and it's like that Barrow thing with the big crest, and it'll just come crashing through one of those things. Like, whoa, like destructible environments. Like one of those times the Anjanath like broke in a cave, woke up the boss of the first thing I was hunting, the big yellow chameleon thing, the great Jagras, and then that's like, it's like, hey, I was sleeping here, and then it starts fighting. You're like, whoa, you blew up a cave wall, and then this thing came running out to fight you because you woke it up, and I'm like, wow, this is nuts. Like, it's insane. Every fight's different, man. Every fight's different.
Very cool. You know where I'm most excited to fight, Jimmy? The swamp.
Swamp's pretty good. Yeah.
I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. It's not like super duper swampy, but some of it's just really, some of that swamp stuff's really pretty, actually, if I remember correctly. All right. Sorry, guys. I've just been going on and on about all the things I've been killing time with. But we'll talk more about Monster Hunter World when it comes out late January 26th, I believe. It comes out like a Friday, which is great because more games are coming out on Fridays, which is I love, because it's like, hey, you get a game, and then your buddies can play it, and you can just get right in.
It's not that far out. January, we're dang near there.
Yeah, man, less than a month out. It's so good, so good. Yeah. All right, and now it's time to move on to my personal favorite segment of the show: community feedback and questions. We got a lot of good questions this week, Joe. Why don't you start us off, my friend?
Oh, lead right into it, shall we? All right.
Wait, hold on. I lied. I'm going to stop you right there, because first, we got to do the community feedback part. I just want to make sure you're on your toes. So I asked our Legionnaires this week what was their least favorite movie of 2017. because we're going to be talking about that next week. So Fraggington said, I'd have to say It was my favorite film. Being a fan of the horror genre, it greatly surpassed my expectations. The story stayed fairly true to the original, and some of the imagery was fantastic. Some truly horrific moments along with humor. That's pretty good. Our buddy Missile Maid said, I haven't seen that many films this year, but really enjoyed Thor Ragnarok. Most of the comedy hit for me, and I enjoyed the interplay between all the characters. Having Hela and the destruction of Asgard given 5 to 10 more minutes for serious screen time would have been nice, though. Also, about 1/5 of The Last Jedi was really, really good. I'd watch that 25 minutes again. It's pretty rough. Our friend Anna, she says, the movie Coco. Saw with a friend last night. Beautiful movie. And Liz comes in and says, we watched very few films this year. Wonder Woman is my pick for the best movie of 2017, with Thor Ragnarok a close second. Wonder Woman is well acted, tightly written, and the action sequences, save the last one, were marvelous. See, it's like kind of a hint toward that. I mean, it's not marvelous. It did not do as much world building as Thor, but it integrated Themyscira well into the world of man. It also managed to make a god care about humans without it being entirely about romance. Looking at you, Soups. But best performance, though, goes to Blanchett for Hela. So campy, so good. I love that. I love these like really in-depth ones. All right, Joe. Sorry to cut you off there before, but please ask away, my dear friend. What is the first question we have from our Legionnaires?
I like that community feedback. It was all pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
They're smart folks.
All right. Leading in with question number 1. This one comes to us from our good friend, the Hashtagonist. I love that name. I'm sorry. I like it.
It's a good name. It's a good name. Yeah.
It is good. All right. So, what game that was groundbreaking in its time would barely hold up if it was released in 2017/18? I've got a good answer for this one, Jimmy. You got anything?
Yeah, I got some, but I want you to go first.
All right. 007 GoldenEye.
Yeah.
That, and I know you had mentioned Doom. Doom was in there, but I mean, think back. The original OG first-person shooter. The games that brought first-person perspective.
Well, like multiplayer. Multiplayer.
Yeah, in multiplayer. 007 hit that one home. I remember as a kid, like grade school, maybe junior high, maybe, playing that game. Oh, so good. Entertainment for a couple of years easy. On the old 64, nonetheless.
Yeah.
There it is. Shameless plug for Nintendo.
Yeah, they need it.
Ooh.
No, they don't. That was a joke. They don't need it.
Well, they were writing out our sponsorship paperwork, but that got canned.
Yeah, they. I even put a Pokemon blanket on my bed. Nintendo, what more do you want from me?
Needless to say, I mean, obviously back then it was great entertainment. It was fun. It was pretty straightforward. You know, pick up this gun, use it to kill your buddies. Kind of a.
Here you go. Pick up this gun, shoot your friends.
Of course, I'm oversimplifying it, and everything I say is going to sound murderous and horrible. But way to twist it. I love where your mind's at. Anywho, in virtual reality, not in real life. But yeah, it was just fun. But when you compare that to what that game was the stepping stone for. That was the first step in a long staircase to first-person shooter success. And obviously, I think you can look at games such as Call of Duty, even Overwatch. You know, all these FPS games with different variations mixed in, but nonetheless, first-person shooter. Just the success that they've been is probably number one. In the game world. So, but I think that game kind of started it off. At that time, it was groundbreaking. It was the most fun thing to do. I'm sure tons of people still have it and call it a classic. Excuse me. The ginger ale's got the burps coming up. Anywho.
A lovely side effect of our sponsor's drink.
Yeah, but it's good for you. Better out than in. That's what Shrek always said.
I don't know what that means, Shrek. I'm sorry.
Anywho, that's what comes to my mind when I think of a groundbreaking game during its time, but probably wouldn't hold up in current day, especially when you're comparing it to things like Call of Duty and Overwatch. Right?
Yeah, the speed isn't there. Obviously, like you said, it's more like just like I think of it more as like the multiplayer stuff. Like Doom started off being like, "Hey, this is a new perspective," but GoldenEye was like, "Hey, this is the perspective in 3D with your friends," and everybody's like, "Yeah." And now we like move at blazingly fast speeds, like especially in like Overwatch or more of the recent Call of Duties. World War II is a step back, but a lot of that stuff's like so fast. And like in Call of Duty, or I mean in GoldenEye, it's kind of like you gotta aim down and you gotta shoot, kind of like.
And it's very like sway.
Yeah, it's just that the old Z targeting, which I don't know if that's technically Z targeting. We're gonna talk about Z targeting in a second, but that's a good pick, Joe. That's a good pick.
Thanks, Paul.
For me, well, guess what? It's The Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time. And now I know there's a lot of people. If Joe's talking GoldenEye, some people are angry. If I'm talking gold or like the gold standard back in the day, Ocarina of Time being not holding up today, Breath of the Wild is everything that Ocarina of Time was, but is just better. It's just better in every way. I'm just saying it, not only graphically, because obviously those things, they wouldn't hold up today. And I know they've remastered it and it looks okay or whatever. They re-released it. However, the original, I'm talking the original. I'm not talking about like the re-releases where they made some of the things easier. Switching between boots, for instance, is agonizingly painful when you have to do it 1,000 times. And in that game, it demands that you do it for certain dungeons. And those dungeons, guess what? They're outdated. They're horrible. And it's just, oh man, it's so painful. The new dungeons and the new way they're going with Zelda is they said they want to have a bigger emphasis on player choice. And guess what? Saying like, hey, you want to figure out this puzzle? There's like 5 different ways that we know how to do it, but there might be like 10. So you can do it however you want to do it. It's not like you have to do it this way so you can get the key to get in this room. It's like you can do it this way, or you can do it this way, or you can do it this way. It's all going to lead to the same ending, but the way you get there, you decide. And that is so much better because we have the technology now to do that. If you brought this game out today, Ocarina of Time, and no one had heard of Zelda before, people would be like, what the heck? This game feels so dated. Like the controls and the Z targeting, for instance, man, it's so hard to fight in those games because there's like things are hitting you from behind, things will come down from above, and you're kind of like trying to aim up. And I just played it, so I know I know the difference. I have felt the pain, and yeah, that's what I would say is a game that groundbreaking at its time. If it came out today, it would barely hold up. Just saying. By today's standards, Ocarina of Time is like a 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10. I'm just saying. If you say just saying, it makes it easier. I know a lot of people probably be angry. They're like, Jimmy, that's like my favorite game. I just missed out on it as a kid, so I don't have that same like nostalgia for it. And I get why people love it. And I'm sure, Joe, like people, you're saying with GoldenEye, people still absolutely love that game. But if you really look at it comparatively to today's games, it's like, yeah, it did a lot of great things for its time to get us to where we need to be. But if it came down to GoldenEye and playing Overwatch today, it's like, I don't know. It just kind of depends on your group, I guess. So
yeah, I don't know. I'm really not willing to throw it back like that.
It's too far.
I don't think it can entertain me long enough.
Joe's like, I'm going to Black Ops, just yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah, well, I think we covered that pretty well, don't you?
Yeah, great question. We have a quick one here from Game Over Reviews. I think it's more for me than it is for you, though, Joe. What anime or animated series do you plan on watching come 2018? I don't really know what's coming up, but I want to go back and watch Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion. Great one. Everybody check it out. One of the greatest anime of all time. Will that make season 3? Who knows? I think maybe, but yeah. How about you, Joe? You excited for anime and animated features?
New seasons of Gundam, for sure.
Are you messing with me? I can't even tell.
I was a little bit, but I had seen episodes of Gundam when I was younger, and that is an anime, right?
Yes, it's actually a very well-known anime.
Yeah.
Kind of
I was kind of obsessed with it the same way I am with I wasn't obsessed. I own like the PS1 fighting game. I think my sister and I had a PS1 console together, and we ended up having that game, and it was just like a side screen fighting type of deal. But I kind of got obsessed with it in the same way that I love like the Iron Man suit. Like,
oh yeah, dude. Like,
I mean,
yes, that's why Anthem, man. When's Anthem coming? We gotta
I
play
know,
Anthem.
right?
It's like
I was
being.
watching a little video on games for next year, and Anthem was one of the most anticipated. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, we will do an episode about games we're excited about because that's like Monster Hunter, but like we're all just in Iron Man suits. So what's that we know? We don't know exactly if it's the same. Anyway.
Yeah. But anywho, where was I?
Gundam.
Yeah, Gundam. I mean, do they still make that cartoon or that anime?
Honestly, I think they're making a new. I'm not sure if it's a new series or a new line of it right now, but I know it's still a very popular franchise, and it's so popular that our friends, the Easy Allies, what they do is they get like miniatures Gundam like models, and then they will stream themselves making them. Like that's what they'll do for like 2 or 3 hours. They'll just like make Gundams. It's like
that's cool. Yeah, I've seen those, and I think I even had one at one point, maybe 2.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. You can get really detailed with it.
Yeah, they're neat. Yeah, I can see why they're popular too. So, in all honesty, I kind of I was being pretty honest when I brought that up. I wasn't joking, but yeah, I'm probably not going back to watch any. But if something new came out that was kind of cool, maybe I'd dabble. You know?
Yeah, it's like whatever. If Netflix, that's another thing too. Is I'm not saying that Netflix or all these streaming services are the only places to get anime. It's just like one of the easier places to get legitimate anime. If you have Hulu, I think they have a lot more. But if they come out with like a new one or something, like I like watching the Fate Stay Night stuff, and they just had Fate Apocrypha on Netflix, and I was like, oh, this is cool to watch. It looks really good, and you know, it's legitimate. I'm getting it legitimately because a lot of times in anime back in the past, it was sometimes hard to find it in like a legitimate fashion because it's like, okay, do you have to commit and buy the full DVD of the first season to be like, I kind of like this. I'm not sure. It's kind of so yeah. I don't know exactly what's coming out in 2018 though, but I'm hoping good stuff. I hope so. Mm-hmm. All right, Joe, next question. Hit us with the next question.
So, next question is how 2017 started with a bang with so many big title games coming out in the first few months. It felt like the fall video game season.
Comes from Swordfish00830. He makes a good point. So 2017 was a little different. And Joe, you probably recognize this, even though you didn't necessarily play all those games that came out in the springtime. But usually October is the time that like a lot of the big AAA games are coming out. Makes sense. The holiday season's just right around the corner. If they get them out, then people are buying them, you know, in November and all that stuff.
It's almost kind of like what the blockbuster season is for movies, May and June, you know?
Exactly.
Similar to that.
But we're starting to see a shift, and like the movies too, like they can release a superhero film in February. It doesn't matter. And now we can see games getting released, like big AAA games in March, in April, like all these times of the year that don't, you know, necessarily drive up the business as much, even towards like more of the summer months, which I feel like sometimes they avoid around here because it's like, well, it's nice. It's hard to get people to be excited to go inside and play a game. It's like, why would you launch in like June or whatever? But it's like, hey, you know, that can work. I don't know if we're going to get that every year, but we might, depending on, you know, I feel like there was a buildup for like 3 or 4 years where like they pushed a bunch of games back to 2017 eventually, and then they all just kind of came out at the same time. So it's like having like both Horizon Zero Dawn and Breath of the Wild in the same year, which was very similar. And then eventually like Assassin's Creed Origins is like they took a year off and then they came out. It's like all open world games, all and Shadow of War, like that one too, all open world games with a bow and arrow where you're like super powered and doing stuff is like they're all like all the same year. Those are 4 huge games, all come out the same year. I don't know if we're going to get that every year, but I would love that one day. I would love it to be that they don't all come out on the same day, because even still this fall we had a day, I think it was October 26th or something. Super Mario Odyssey came out, Wolfenstein 2 came out, Assassin's Creed Origins came out. It was like, or Wolfenstein New Colossus came out. It's like all on the same day. Spread it out. Spread the love. Spread it around, guys. Like, just, you know.
Stop jumping on each other.
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't have to be like just October. Like, you know, you go into September and all of that. Obviously, Destiny 2 came out in September, and kind of Bungie always loves to release in that time. That's kind of like when the holiday season starts, and they kind of were like, we're going to pick this one. But yeah, I don't know if we'll see that again, but potentially. 2018 does look pretty stacked, though, too. But hopefully we'll get to, like I said, with the superhero films, it'll just be all year round. Doesn't need to be like, yep, October to November.
Yeah, 2018 does seem super stacked, but it also seems like stacked in a way that it's got to be sprinkled throughout the year. I mean, there's no way they can be. I know we're going to see quite a bit in the spring. I think there's quite a few things confirmed for spring. And then there are some that are a little further out there for fall from what I've heard.
Well, yeah,
who
that's
knows
the
what
weird
we'll
thing.
see in the summer, though. Summer is typically, there's a little bit of a dry spell there, right?
Yeah, sometimes like the doldrums kind of like late July into August. But the weird thing
Yeah.
is that a lot of those games, like I look at the Sony ones, they're like, yeah, 2018. It's like God of War, Spider-Man, all these things coming 2018. It's like, what's the date? And it's like early 2018, like middle of the year. And it's like, okay. And this one was crazy too because Nintendo launched a brand new console. We're not going to get that next year. It's not like PlayStation 5's coming out or the Xbox like 2, or whatever. We've got the Scorpio.
It might be coming. It could be coming.
It'd be bad marketing on them if they hadn't talked about it yet. They're like, yes, the Scorpio is the most, I can still call it the Scorpio. The Xbox One X is the most powerful console. However, what if we said we could make it a little bit stronger? And it's like, it's like,
what's the next big jump we'll see in the consoles? I mean, the Xbox One was a decent jump from the Xbox 360. Like, it was worth spending the money for, right?
PS3 and PS4 are the same thing. The problem is I think it's going to be more iterative, where it's kind of like cell phones, where we kind of get like smaller jumps. It's not going to be like when we jump from standard def to high def. It's like,
yeah, it's not like we've hit the ceiling, but we've kind of hit that climax where it's hard to keep building it up in such big legs, right?
It's plateauing.
Yeah, it's plateauing a little bit. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Anywho, sorry to interrupt. I was just thinking about it. My mind escaped me for a second.
That's fine. That's totally fine. Next question, unless you had anything else to add to that, comes in from our friend Disc Cart Guy. He says, best in-game grass of 2017 and which games you decided to buy physical copies of. Best in-game grass for me personally, that goes to Horizon Zero Dawn, baby. I swear, go into that game and just kind of crouch in like a bush or something, or just walk around, just stand. And the grass is like just swaying in the breeze, baby. Looks really? So good. Like,
and all I've seen are the trailers, or maybe a little bit of gameplay on YouTube, and it was pretty gorgeous. So I can't disagree with you there, Jimmy. I didn't play it, but for me, best in-game grass, which this is a freaking cool question, by the way. It's just
we joked about this on stream, and I was like, this is some good grass. And then he's like, what's the best in-game one?
And it spurred this whole thing. Best in-game grass of games that I have played.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of when I've noticed grass, like environmental. What's been the best? Ghost Recon wasn't too bad. They had decent vegetation and stuff, but it wasn't perfect. I'm sure something like what you had mentioned probably blows that out of the water.
Well, like clipping, the problem with that is like they didn't spend a lot of time. Like your guy's never like trying to like push past like the brush, or like climb through the grass. It's just like, he just goes through the shrub. Like he's just kind of like,
Yeah.
Shrubs and grass are two different things, I know, but still.
Yeah. Ooh, that's sad. So if that's the best game I've played for vegetation, grass, oof. Yeah, we might have to leave her there, Jimmy.
That's fine.
You had a good one, though. You had a good one.
Which games do we buy physical? I actually started moving more to the digital stuff with like digital games. It's like with Destiny 2 and stuff. But I have a physical copy of Injustice 2. What else did I buy? I'm like looking at my games right now. Joe, did you buy any physical copies this year?
Jimmy's bookshelf is about 30 feet wide. He's looking down in his entire room right now. Like,
okay, Persona 5, Horizon Zero Dawn, those ones are on there as well. I think Kingdom Hearts 2.8 came out this year, or maybe it was last year. I think I got it this year though. Ghost Recon, I have a physical copy of. Those are all the ones I'm seeing right now.
Okay,
For Honor.
Some reason. Yeah, really? For Honor, you got the physical for that, huh?
I did because yes, it was cheaper. A lot of these I get on Amazon, and I get it for you get like $12 off if you have Prime.
Sure. See, I like to think that I buy physical copies of games that I really value, or I anticipate a lot of longevity out of. And then recently, I've just been like, screw it. I'm not going to the store to buy it. I download it right away. Like, so physical copies I own Overwatch, and I feel like owning a physical copy of Overwatch counts for something. Like that game is just, she's sitting on top shelf, baby. That's top shelf liquor right there.
Can I say something about Overwatch that I thought they were going to do for sure? Is they had Tracer as the cover person kind of representing them.
Yeah.
I thought for dang sure they were going to have like a reversible thing that had Reaper or somebody, or they'd be like, hey, when you pick up the game, if you want, you can... Huh? Oh, like not hologram. I just meant like you just would pick. You'd be like, hey, pick any... If you want a like custom made, like you want a McCree one, you can order a McCree one for like $2.99 and we'll send it to you. And then you can put it, be like, oh, it's Overwatch, but McCree's on the front. Because they have like stances for all of them anyway. It's like, why not, offer that up?
That would be cool. So who would you pick?
Probably Reaper.
Yeah, I knew you'd say that.
Dude, Reaper, man. I did a whole video on Reaper. I love Reaper.
I know. He is awesome. I'm trying to think of who I would pick. Notice how this spiraled into something totally different.
Always does. Always does.
Always does. Good times. You would pick Reaper, huh? Who would I pick? McCree's cool. I just don't play him a lot.
Reaper or maybe Roadhog would look good on the cover of that game, because if I saw him on the cover of a game, I'd say, like, why is your big fat
piggy
hog man with a hook and a shotgun?
Like,
is
that Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Oh, that's pretty good. Believe it or not, my mind jumped the Roadhog pretty quickly.
Or maybe Anna, because I love senior citizens in video games. I think that's really right.
You're such a good guy. I would pick Reinhardt for sure, but he'd have to be wearing his Blackheart skin, the all black one with the red flame.
They couldn't do that.
Yeah, they could do that, and then he would have his golden axe, because when he's Blackheart, he's got the axe.
I think you can get a different axe, can't you? It doesn't. You have to buy the gold weapons different.
Well, I just wanted to use this moment to advertise that I run the Blackheart skin for Reinhardt, and I have a golden axe.
Oh gosh,
I love it. I love it.
Doesn't that cost you like a lot, like of in-game currency to get the gold axe? I forget how you do that.
It's based on like competitive points.
Yes, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. And I had a heck of a lot of points. I'm pretty good, so.
All right, next question. We're moving on from Joe's.
Where were we? No, my physical copies. Ghost Recon. I've got Black Ops 3. I've got Overwatch. I've got I've got The Division. I've got GTA 5. And Evolve still collects dust at the bottom of the drawer.
Yep, I got my Evolve right here too.
Otherwise, everything else I've bought digital, like Battlefield 1, Call of Duty World War II, For Honor, Injustice 2, MXGP 2 and 3. I mean, geez, the list goes on and on. I got a lot of online downloads, so it's just convenient. The thing is I got to stop I probably won't play that for a long time. I'm just going to take that, uninstall that one. I'm going to add the new one. I got to get a freaking external hard drive and just stop deleting them.
Yep, I have mine and I love it. Mm-hmm. I do. I really do. All right. What's the next question, Joe? Hit me.
Oh, let's see. Best in-game grass. That's unreal.
I love it so much. Thank you, Discard Guy. I want more questions like that just every week.
Just so random, but it's funny. It's good. It's got character. That's what it is.
The grass artists for all these games are like, oh my God, thank you. Like, yes, we notice you because you're a hardworking individual or individuals, and we love you. We honestly do.
This guy's like standing on the ledge of a roof somewhere, and he's like, they noticed me.
Yeah, because they're going to listen to our podcast as they do something like that.
That's how I would want to go out.
Why aren't you advertiser friendly? I ask myself when I'm trying to.
So bad. I'm sorry.
Goodness.
All right. Am I going to play Monster Hunter with Jimmy? And why is the answer yes? How did you know it was yes?
Beating down Brian, he knows a great deal of things. He's a smart
Brian. How'd you know my answer would be yes?
Yeah, we kind of
obviously he knows my answer was yes because we talked about it for the first half of this podcast. But
yeah, exactly. I can't wait.
Most of all, I'm interested in the art design, the environment, and then the monster design and character design. I think it's awesome. It has the makings of a good game, and I guess just to put the cherry on top, it's online co-op.
Yep. I will say this. I'm hoping that they put like a bestiary in the game. I wasn't really looking for one, but it'd be cool to see that in like maybe 3D models or sketched versions of the monsters. But the really
That'd be
cool thing, I forgot to mention this, Joe, is like when you open up your map, the guy pulls out like a little book, opens it up, and then like zooms in, and it's like you're looking at like a piece of parchment paper that is your map. Like your guy's like written it out.
Oh,
And I was like, oh, that's so, because he was like, oh, and then a camera zooms into it. I'm like, that's great.
that is
That's
cool. Nice detail. Nice detail. So, do you carry a logbook around with you of like monsters that you've hunted?
I think so, yeah, and it'll show you which ones you've checked off on that list as far as like, oh yeah, you completed that mission, like good job, like you took down this thing. So I don't
Okay.
know if you could like look at stuff beforehand. It's like, oh yeah, the Great Jagras has these like weaknesses, or like you fight it a few times, like, oh yeah, I know that it has these weaknesses.
I almost like not knowing. Like I almost like like Pokemon or something. You walk in. I mean, you can know going in with Pokemon because you know so much about them already. But like, is this like you look at them and kind of judge a book by its cover and like, okay, what's going to be the best plan of attack for a creature with this physical makeup?
Yeah, well, the first time I played Pokemon, I didn't know. So like when I went in, it's like once you learn a gym, you're like, oh, okay, so this is like a rock type gym, and I can't. There's certain Pokemon I'm like, so. But you're totally right. So you're like, maybe poison will work on this thing. Maybe it won't. Maybe it's like really super effective if I use fire against it. Maybe it doesn't do anything. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm right there with you. I'm excited about it. Also, you do get to eat before your hunts, and it makes you stronger. I always go for that meat platter, so you guys just get to like eat some like drumstick and eat some
But
shrimp. Steak.
the veggies are good for you. I hope you grow.
Mm. Next question. We're moving on. This comes in from I believe it's Aveda Gamer, AV8 or Gamer, Aviator Gamer. There we go.
It clicked.
I did it. I was like looking at it before. I'm like, I'm pretty sure Aviator Gamer. Yeah, because yeah, that's a picture of a plane there. I love it. Creatively and positively discuss alternate income strategies for game publishers that don't involve microtransactions or increasing the ticket price of a game. So games stay $60, but microtransactions are out. How does a game dev make it pay? So, microtransactions have become a big thing this year. They've been slowly growing. I think one easy way to do it is to have cosmetic items. I know a lot of people say that's kind of an easy out, but I think if you really love a game and you're willing to just buy a stupid costume that doesn't make your character any stronger, but you like it, I think that's an easy way to positively get, your community, your fans to, support that franchise, as opposed to saying like, hey, like, if you want this thing that's going to make you a little bit stronger, you can buy this. Because I look at Battlefront 2 that basically did that, and people were pissed. So, but creatively and positively, we want to be creative and positive about this. So microtransactions are out, Joe.
Yeah, you don't want wealth to make a gameplay experience unbalanced.
No, you don't. Yeah, but we don't want to increase the ticket price of the game, which games are, weirdly enough, believe it or not, guys, they're like the cheapest they've ever been, comparatively to like incomes and stuff like that. So keep that in mind. Like they're one of the few things that has stayed at the same price. Yeah, which is crazy. Like when you think about it. Alternate income strategies. What's another way, Joe? Because we're already getting charged for online, which would have been potentially something that people, back in the day weren't excited
form of
about.
Advertisement.
Okay. All right.
Spots, just like a movie. Have features.
They did it, and they kind of force it in your face on certain things, but Final Fantasy 15 has that with like cup noodles and Coleman and stuff like that. So there's like a few things here and there that were that way. So that maybe is a good way, Joe, because I wasn't even thinking about it. How do we get somebody else to foot the bill and us to not have to pay with it for money? But advertising, if used sparingly, could be pretty good.
Here's another example, and for certain games, it really lends itself well to being profitable. Like if you look at Steep from what's the developer again? Why do I Ubisoft. Yeah. So in that game, they had a lot of gear that was kind of name brand, And I know Red Bull was featured in there pretty heavily. Red Bull, the energy drink.
Yeah.
The logo was showed off on a helmet. I think they had the big archways for like starts of parks and all that and jumps. But so certain games lend themselves. Example that being an example, lend themselves well to having like in-game advertising, product placement. And I think you could do that with other games as well. How much would product or how much would company? I have no clue if Red Bull like paid for that or just said, yeah, sure, you can use you can use our logo in there.
Yeah, I think.
How much would they pay for that? Is
Yeah.
that really like, oh, you want to use our product in a game? Okay, they're gonna be like, well, is it really going to benefit us much? Should we pay for it? Is it going to benefit us to the point where we should pay you to put our product in the game? That's kind of a tough sell, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. I mean, you got to be like top notch. Like if you're Call of Duty, yeah, Pepsi Cola is going to be like, yeah, put us on every wall in that map.
Well, I think of games that don't need it, like Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto. And Grand Theft Auto just makes a bunch of fake ones. But weirdly, that almost takes me out of the experience because, not that I need all the advertisement to be legitimate in that game. However, when it's like, oh, look at all these fake, stupid company names, and it's like,
yeah,
I kind of almost want it to be like a real thing. So I'm like, oh, yeah, it's like I'm a person in that world, But I think advertising is a good one.
It would be cool if Grand Theft Auto had rights to had paid advertisements, even if they were just dirt cheap. Just say, hey, give us $1 a month to put your company on this billboard in our world. You know what I mean? I mean, that'd be pretty cool. Or we'll run your advertisements on the car radios. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they literally have commercials on the radio when you're driving cars in that game.
Sure.
But they're like bogus commercials, like, oh, the amazing floating whoopee cushion. It's crap like that. If they could actually probably do real stuff, and somebody might pay for that. Because I'm thinking of like game applications on like your iPhone or your Android. Like you download a game and there's that little banner across the top, that sort of stuff. You could do things of that nature too, maybe. But
yep, that's what leads perfectly into my idea, Joe. A video game within a video game. Not that we haven't seen this before. I'm looking at you, Gwen, from Witcher 3, which is an addicting game in and of itself, and now it's its own thing. Anyway, what if Candy Crush has paid a ton of money to be on all the mobile devices in Grand Theft Auto? Like they paid like $1 million to be like the one game you can play in the game, like on that way. Or another, or it's like, like if it's on Nintendo, like Nintendo's like, hey, you know what? On our Grand Theft Auto or whatever game it's going to be, they're going to have like a Switch, or there's going to be like those consoles will be in the homes for this. Like it's just going to be this one. It gets weird if you get into cross-platform stuff where it's like, okay, I'm playing on Xbox, but this person in this game has a PlayStation 4. It's like, that might be hard to do. But I'm saying like if you get the games within the games, that's what would be a really cool way to sell people. Yeah, that'd be so cool, man. And then like, what you could do is like you could have those games in there and maybe they could not necessarily like remaster them, but they could do something where it was like, oh, they implemented something from the game you were playing as like a custom avatar that your character in that game made and put into like an old 2D platformer or something like that. That could be kind of cool, I think. I don't know. That might be a cool way to like
I agree with you.
That.
That's a very creative idea and more interactive for the consumer.
Yeah, no, exactly. That is the point, because I want to be creative. I want it to be something good and positive, because microtransactions people are like so angry about. Whereas I think that like DLC, like really good downloadable content, like an expansion to a game, I should say, which are kind of two different things. Like an expansion, a true expansion is a really good way to support your game, because not only does it like bring it back to the forefront, like with Horizon Zero Dawn and the Frozen Wilds, people are like, oh yeah, I didn't pick up that game, but I should pick that game up and get the expansion together right now. And that's a good way to keep the legs of your franchise going, especially if it's a single player thing. But downloadable content stuff like, buying a new sword or whatever, I think CD Projekt Red does it really well, because like, hey, we made these new weapons. You can download them. You just have to play with like the actual gold in the game. We're not just going to give you like a new sword for free. You got to kind of work for it. But it's not like, hey, it's $2.99 for a new sword, even in a single player game. It's like, that's stupid. So that's what I would say. Also, maybe paid modifications as far as like, I know some of the companies are getting into that. I don't know if they're all free, but like if they get vetted, I know that Bethesda does some of the stuff with Skyrim. So it's like if you want to download a mod, it can be like a really good mod, like a really like it changes, the moon to the Death Star, and it might just be like you give 99 cents to make the moon the Death Star, or something like that. I don't know
Some
if
people
things
do
are free.
spend money on just meaningless stuff like that, just for
Yeah.
just the quib of it, right? So
Exactly. So people maybe get that for free right now anyway, but stuff just like that. If it's cosmetic, if it's something that doesn't like break the game, or there's like things within the game that are creative, like advertising or games within games that kind of support the console it's on, I think that's a good way to do it. So excellent. Excellent question. Thank you.
it was a fun discussion.
Aviator Gamer. It's pretty good. Joe, hit me with another question.
All right. So we all know Battle Royale modes are about to become a very big trend. In which existing game would you like to see a Battle Royale mode? What developer do you think has the best chance, I'm just going to ad-lib, and or resources to make a great Battle Royale game from scratch?
Ghost Recon Wildlands, Ubisoft, they've got to make it. Like if they're not making it already.
I know. I just thought of it immediately. Who is this question from, Jim?
Oh, this is from J. Hunter Pearson. Thank you for asking.
J. Hunter Pearson.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, I think you're totally onto something that for sure is becoming a popular style of game, or genre, if you will. I don't know.
I'm sure we'll see Rockstar implement it in some way, shape, or form. If not in Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead, for sure.
Yeah, because GTA already kind of is, isn't it? I mean, it's like you're in this online session with other online players, and you can all kill each other at any moment. And sometimes there are incentives to do so.
But sometimes there are incentives, whereas Battle Royale, there's always an incentive. You always have to have that. And the world keeps shrinking. Like, it always brings people together. It's not like in Grand Theft Auto, it's like, I'm just going to drive that way for like 10 miles. And you're like, oh, come on. Like, I have to go chase that guy down.
Yeah, but needless to say, they already have the makings of being able to do something of that nature. Whether Rockstar wants to do something of that nature, I doubt.
Yeah.
They've got such a they found a niche, and they are the best at it, and they are kind of crushing with it. But I think you hit the nail on the head. Ubisoft, Ghost Recon Wildlands, all that. They've already kind of got the nice platform to do so. They have the resources clearly, and Ghost Recon is a good base or foundation for that style of game. So that's my take on that. That's my take. I have not played Battle Royale.
You haven't played the PUBG or, the like Fortnite Battle Royale mode or whatnot?
I don't even understand. Are we going to play this game?
Well, we could play the Fortnite version. It's free on Xbox. I think we both downloaded.
That's where you build stuff, right? And it's a little more cartoony.
Yes, you can build stuff in that one, but they do have like a battle royale mode where you could still build a few things, but it's more just like the kind of it's shrinking and you have to fight people and get to the middle and be the last one surviving. Whereas PlayerUnknown's Battleground, it's more just like just go around a world, big world, shooting each other, no building. So
yeah. That sounds fun, but it's also like, would you have enough fun in that? Like, even if, like, how many per session do you think? 60?
I think like
40?
100 usually.
Whoa, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, it goes down quickly though. I played both.
And so, like, if you ever get to the last person standing, it's like a really big deal. It's like a hole-in-one when you're playing golf.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of you're like winner, chicken dinner. That's what they do on Battlegrounds. It's like, oh, hey, you won. Congratulations. It's crazy for you. So,
but you don't have to hang around if you die. You just start a new game.
Yep, exactly. I would say another developer that could really hit it out of the park, because I don't think they really make bad games, is Blizzard. I'd love to see it not necessarily use pre-existing franchises. Like, I don't want Overwatch Battle Royale mode. However, I would love to just see them be like, hey, we just made this mode. It's completely new genre, or no, completely new characters and everything. And just like, here's our version of it, and here's how amazing it is. I'd be like, yep, that's the best version. So
yeah, it could be cool. That's a good idea. Yeah, and it's not that I didn't know what Battle Royale is. I didn't understand. You kept talking about two different games. I didn't know.
Oh yeah, so PUBG, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, that's the big one right now. But then there's also the Battle Royale mode within Fortnite, which is that cartoony zombie one that has a mode to do that. So
okay. Is PUBG worth buying, you think? Are you even interested in that?
I played it on PC. I think we talked about this. It's on PC right now. It's on Xbox One now. Finally, like it's finally live. But I don't know. I just not necessarily my cup of tea. I'd rather be doing other stuff personally.
Okay, I just want to get your take on it.
You'd probably love it, Joe. I think you would absolutely love that game. I think you'd love it. I think it was good. I think it's good. All right, we have a holy trinity here to end it from our buddy Missile Mage. I think we should save the supervillain one for last because it's fun. Not that these are like sad questions, but I think that's a fun one, and I want to end it on that one. Let's do this one first. So he asked us, he said, like, I don't know if either of us has read Ready Player One. I don't think either of us has. He says, but a major plot involves games that are movies that you have to act through. We've had tie-ins for movies, or we've had game tie-ins for movies in the past, and some games that are sort of like movies. But do you think the release of Ready Player One on the big screen, some game companies would like to capitalize on this and release similar types of games? It strikes me as something that would possibly work in VR. Do you think there would be a market for this? Well, let's ponder this for a moment, shall we? With like game tie-ins, well, obviously in the trailers we've seen now like Tracer's there, other game characters are there too. I wouldn't be surprised to see people do that. The only problem is I think the movie tie-in, even though this might be the best time to do like a movie tie-in because like all the crazy stuff is together, it's just so hard to market those. There's been so many bad movie games. There have been some good ones too. It's just hard to do that. Plus there might be a lot of like just stupid red tape you have to go through, which would be kind of annoying. Am I right, Joe? All right.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I'm trying to really digest this question.
Well, it could, he's asking if it could possibly work in VR, which I think would be really interesting to be walking around a world and see Deathstroke walk past you, and then you see, Reinhardt walk past you, or you're like talking to them. That would be really cool. VR might be the best place for this, but like I said, it might be really hard to get all of these, it's hard enough to get them into a movie. I'm not sure who you'd say who's going to develop that game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because there's too many rights and too much, red tape to go through and too many dollars to exchange hands, and
Yeah, but I don't think it's a bad idea, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them capitalize on it if Ready Player One does well. That's the big thing now is like, oh, if a movie does well, then we can think about doing a game within that franchise, not necessarily a tie-in directly to the movie, just like do like how Spider-Man's doing. It's like Spider-Man films are usually successful, but this next Spider-Man game is not going to be tied to the movies. So that's where I would see that being profitable. For me, that's what I'd say.
Agreed, yeah.
Anything to add to that? You feel good?
I really don't. I think I don't know enough about Ready Player One. I'm having a difficult time.
Let's just mix match, man. You put VR, you put the VR headset on, and you go into a world of all video games, and you're a video game character, but you're playing with other video game characters.
Yeah, that makes sense. But in real life, it would almost have to be the same scenario as Ready Player One, right? Because that's a virtual reality or the online world, the virtual world.
Yeah, you're right. So you're saying that if it was going to be a game, it would have to be the virtual reality game. So it's like, yeah, it'd have to be online VR for everyone, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's so. It's kind of like if you've ever, I don't know, Joe, you're not familiar with this, but there's an anime called Sword Art Online, and they basically put on these helmets. And they go into like basically kind of like World of Warcraft MMO game where it's massively multiplayer online. It's kind of like a fantasy world, but they're like laying in their beds in real life and they're like in the world, like acting and stuff like that. And people are going to make Sword Art Online games, but they're not going to be the same as that experience as like being like, I'm putting my body basically into this world and being like, I'm interacting with stuff. So it's like the concept is really cool, but the execution is tough right now. If technology increases the way it's going to, then we'll probably get to it. But
can you imagine if you could pick what you want to dream about? Like, think of this. You talked about putting the body to sleep and you're in virtual reality.
I dream about all
Can you imagine, like, Okay, so I got to be to work at 8, so I need to get up at 6. Okay, set the alarm for 6. Wake me out of VR at 6. I'm going to lay down now. Tonight I want to play something murderous. All right, yes, Doom. Okay. And you lay down like your body is sleeping, but instead of like dreaming something stupid, your mind is in the VR. So you're like playing a game while you sleep, and then you wake up at 6 in the morning for work.
Basically, like Doctor Strange at that point, when he's like astral projecting himself reading a book, it's like, think of all the other things you could probably do that would be a better use of your time. But I would be playing games like 6 nights a week. Like I'd be like, the one night I'm gonna use to learn Japanese, but the other 6 is just gonna be like, I'm gonna fly around and blow stuff up while I'm sleeping.
Yeah. Could you imagine? Or I just need to relieve some stress. So I'm going to play, what's that game that you always say I need to play or you wish was online multiplayer? Just Cause.
Joe, I want my dream.
Just go grapple things and blow things up.
My dream is like we get to this world and it's just like you can kind of pick a world to be in that isn't with anyone else or you can invite people in. But I just want the same world that we have right now in this dreamscape. But you and I both have like the powers of Kryptonians or Dragon Ball Z characters. And we just kind of like look at each other and we just fight for hours. It's just like, it's like go like flying.
Are you trying to say that you hate me subtly?
No, think about how cool that would be. And it wouldn't feel like anything. I'd be like, all right, Joe, it's time to throw me at like the Statue of Liberty or something. Like, it'd be so cool. Like, oh man. Yes. But also that would be such a great way to leave. Then you'd like be like, you had a tough day at work, Joe. Then you just come, you punch this lovable face. And I'd be like, oh, that really hurt. Then I go flying across the continent. I'd be like,
it's like our own version of Injustice 2.
Yeah, but even to a higher scale. It's like Zod and Superman, baby. And everything's just blowing up. There's no humans. There are no people out there. No one's getting hurt, because it's all virtual reality.
Why not? Oh, okay.
You'd start populating. Like, tons of people just show up where I'm about to land. I'm like, Joe, no. And I'm like trying to get rid of them with my mind. Like,
like it has to be done this way.
Or tonight, Joe, you're the villain, and tonight I'm the hero. Or like we kind of would switch. I'd be like, I'm trying to save the world from you. I'd be like, man, that was a crazy 8 hours, man. Like, yeah, have fun at work.
Yeah, you could never save the world for me. No one can.
The weird side effects is that in this world, we just come out after the world is like super ripped. We're like, oh my god, we're doing so many calories. Oh god.
This sounds fun.
Yeah, man. See, I told you, you're like, it's a good idea.
You know, Jimmy, I think the creative juices are just a flow in the night.
Now, what can I say?
Podcast, huh? Mm-hmm. Anywho, where are we at? Where are we at with this thing? So, okay. I kind of understand that a bit more, but it really what I think he's getting at is almost, okay, possibly work in VR. So you're basically saying you want Ready Player One in real life.
Or could it work now, as games are? Maybe with the VR, but it's hard because I don't know if VR has a lot of like multiplayer stuff. Version. And it's kind of hard to use, right? It's like it's not super easy or it's not accessible to everyone in the same way. I don't know. But yeah. I want it to be. I want everyone to be able to experience all this stuff together. That'd be so cool.
One day, someday, who knows?
Think of like the Legionnaires, Joe, and like every night if they want, they can join me on a fictional field of battle, and we're all dressed in like Legionnaire stuff and we're fighting whatever we want. Oh, that'd be beautiful. Be like, let's go.
It'd be cool, kind of like a For Honor only way better.
Yeah, dude, and you know what? We could fight the Uruk-hai from Lord of the Rings or whatever we want to do.
Heck no, man. I don't want nightmares for the rest of my life. Those guys are intimidating.
I know they are. That's what's so great about them. I love it. I love those bits. Oh, it's so cool. All right, next question from Missile Mage. Do you want to read this one, Joe, or should I?
I'll take point on this one. All right. So EA has had a lot of controversy with microtransactions lately, but they have gotten away with it for many years. There are many things that are frowned upon within this game industry, or within the game industry. They seem to get mentioned occasionally, but nothing really gets done about them. Do you think it's the duty of content creators who have a platform and do reviews to fight against things that are bad for the consumer? Or is it on the consumer to stop buying these kinds of games? So consumers stand up for himself or people with a platform to do good on the consumer's behalf. It's got to be a mix of both.
Yep.
right? I mean, it can't be one-sided. I mean, where's the incentive for somebody with a platform to stand up against it if the consumers aren't doing something as well? The more voices, the better, right? I mean, that's pretty simple there. But obviously, the whole microtransaction thing, we just talked about it a little bit, right, Jimmy? And there are ways in which it can be appropriate. There are ways in where it isn't. You know, if it creates an uneven playing field or gives gives the wealthy an unfair advantage because they're like, yeah, $100 so I can do that. Yeah, no big deal. Oh, the game just came out, so I'm going to be like the OP asshole. But you know, there's always going to be that person that's going to be like, wow, he's level 305. I'm only 280. You know, Destiny, you know, whatever. And I won't lie, I spent a little bit of money in Destiny on cosmetic stuff. That's something I think is appropriate. I thought, whatever, I'm going to spend $4 or $5 and get all these Stardust or whatever, so I can buy all these shaders and maybe a ship for my multiplayer orbit sessions. Whatever. I find it fun. I enjoy the creativity part of it, and it's hard to get all that Stardust, so I wanted it. But needless to say, yeah, I mean, the more voices heard, the better. I think everybody has to stand up for that. And the people at the platforms aren't always going to do so because there's incentives for them too. I mean, who knows how they're affiliated? There could be some green involved, green paper, that sort of stuff. So, you know, more cases than not, it's going to be the consumer that's got to be the main voice here. So, and you get those occasional people with platforms like at the what was that award ceremony?
Oh, the Game Awards.
The Game Awards, yeah.
So I think Joe put it well, is that it's going to be both. I think there are two specific examples that I want to tackle here. I look at somebody like Angry Joe, who has 2.8 million subs on YouTube. Now, his voice is going to be heard by hundreds of thousands of people. And for most of the career that I followed watching him, he does try to do his best to kind of represent the little guy, as it were. Obviously, he's like making tons of money. The common folk, exactly. Even though he obviously, like, this is his job, his career, and he makes money doing it. However, he won't, like, back down. And yeah, he screams and rants and swears a bit too much, but he does kind of fight this stuff. And it's cool to see somebody like him who will probably and has gotten blacklisted from various, you know, different gaming outlets, or not necessarily outlets, I should say, like developers who are like, yeah, we're not doing interviews with this guy because he just trashed on our game. But I think it's good to have that because you have somebody who's going to go out there. That person is going to influence a lot of people to not buy this because it is on these people. But a lot of people don't see Star Wars Battlefront 2. Like, I saw a trailer for it before The Last Jedi yesterday. They don't necessarily know that it was plagued with microtransactions a few weeks ago and that they kind of fixed all this stuff. They're like, hey, cool, a new Star Wars game is out. There aren't really any Star Wars games out right now besides this one, so I'm going to pick it up for, you know, like my grandkid or my son or myself or my daughter or whatever. So I think it's on, you know, it is on the influencer, but it's also on the consumer as well to do their research, because out of all the things you can buy as gifts to people now, these are the ones that are ever changing. When I buy a movie, yeah, they can re-release it in different versions, but if I give you that DVD, if I give you a digital code for whatever, that's the thing you're getting. With a game, it could change. So it can change drastically. So trying to do your research beforehand, I think it really comes down to the consumer to do that. And there's a lot of money that goes into getting a console. You know, you got to get the console, you got to get the game, get an extra controller, potentially get the online service, all that stuff. So you're putting a lot of money into it. So you might as well put a little bit of time to figure it out too. So speak with your wallet, as the Easy Allies say. That's the second thing I want to bring up. Look and try to find a trusted reviewer. If it isn't us, which I hope it is, but look at the other ones who are crowd-funded. Those are the ones that are usually a little bit better because they are living and breathing and dying potentially by their community. So if you know that they come out with a review on a game and say, hey, it's great, you should buy it, or no, don't buy this, it's not because the person wasn't getting enough money from a company to say that or getting too much money to promote it. It's that this was what was best for the community. So always keep that in mind too. Just know who you're watching and just kind of see what they're like. And also, you know, if you look at their track record, you can say, hey, I really agree with them on 90% of the games or movies they review. maybe I should get this game because they highly recommend it. But if you're like, man, I disagree with them on everything, on whoever, if it's like my reviews, you're like, man, he has worst taste in movies ever. I love that movie. So it's like, keep that in mind. I hope that answers your question, but really good question. It's a very good question. All right, Joe, last one. If you were a stereotypical supervillain, what would your evil plan be? Where would you have your evil lair, and what escapable scenario would you put the hero in after you catch him? Stereotypical supervillain, Joe. Who would you be? What would your evil plan be?
Who would I be? Am I making up a supervillain?
You gotta make it up. You gotta make him up. You don't necessarily have to have a name. All right. Here's what I would have. I'd be in a suit. I'd have a hat on, but I'd be in a dark room, so you never saw my face. Think kind of like Moriarty from the Sherlock Holmes, stuff like that. Okay, so my evil plan would be this. I am going to make the world's most deadly virus on the entire planet, release it, and then I am going to be the only one who has the cure, and then I'm going to monetize the cure. I know this has probably been done before, but we're doing stereotypical ones, right? Evil lair. It's tropical, all right? It's going to be near a volcano, but not underneath it, or inside it. That just seems like you're going to. And I need to also pick a escapable scenario with which I put the hero in after I catch him. I might go classic. I might use some sort of laser type of thing where they're kind of chained down to it, but there's like tons of lasers coming for him. But I leave the room like right as the lasers turn on. I'll be like, "You'll never leave." And then like I'm always sitting in this throne. I'm thinking like it's a black pinstripe suit with the red, like a black tie with like a fedora, but you can't see my face. But like my throne just kind of like the door shuts. I'll be like, and I was like, I'm sure he's dead. I'm sure he's dead, right, guys? Like, do we have any cameras? We blew the budget on all the lasers. Okay, well, we're gonna make it back on that cure money, baby.
Like Dr. Evil's half-ass brother.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I'd look cooler, and you would never see my face.
You would look cooler. Oh man. All right, I've got mine, and I'm going to give you the image to give people an illustration for this. So if you're only listening, I'm coughing. I've been laughing too much tonight. So if you're only listening to this, you'll have to just imagine it. But otherwise, I'm going to give Jimmy the image to plug. So my this is embarrassing. My evil what word am I looking for? Evil villain name. My villain name is gonna be Glitter Weasel.
Oh, not the Glitter Weasel. You can't use that. You've already used it for okay, it's your villain. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. You do.
It's my villain, damn it. Like at first I'm cute, cuddly. You don't expect much out of me. Just, oh, look at him. But then the thug in me comes out,
Are you a literal weasel? Because I feel like everybody wants to know. Like, is that your villain, your weasel? Are you just like really cute?
Yeah, think of like almost Looney Tunes.
Okay, all right. So we're looking like a Roger Rabbit type of situation.
Yeah, Roger Rabbit type of situation. In fact, think of the weasels from Roger Rabbit.
Your stereotypical weasel villain. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, this is so not stereotypical.
Yeah, no, it's not.
This is so original and one-off. I should write comics. Oh man! All right, so I'm Glitter Weasel. I'm cute, cuddly, but then the thug comes out. Right? Think about the weasels in suits running around with Tommy guns on Roger Rabbit.
Yep.
And so
real original.
So, but that's the thing. I'm a little zany too. I'm a little zany. So I'm chasing the hero around all the time, And as far as my entrapment, the stereotypical entrapment, and he gets away kind of a deal, it's going to be the aquarium. Or hold on, where's my lair and what is it? It's going to be. Oh gosh, I don't. It's going to be a chemical warehouse down by the docks.
Oh my god.
And I have a trap door in the floor because this is kind of like a pier.
Okay.
It's a pier, so I've got a trap door, and down below I've got a caged-in area with sharks. Yeah, with laser beams. No, I'm just kidding. I got a caged area with sharks, big ones, real big ones with lots of teeth. And I'm smoking my stogie, looking down on the guy, and he's tied up and he's hanging by his waist from a rope on a little jib crane. And you're gonna be sleeping with the fishes. You see here, yeah. You see, here's what we're gonna do. See, you're gonna drop you in the water. See, you're gonna get lots of teeth. See, and I just keep puffing on my stogie, dropping boys, and they drop them in. Little do I know that my minions had already fed the sharks 2 hours ago, so they were sustained and they weren't very hungry. So the hero swam to one of the stilts that the pier's up on and climbed up and, fill the gap in from there. But anywho, Glitter Weasel's the name.
So does the trapdoor shut as he goes through it so you can't see this happen?
Well, yeah, sure, and the rope's cut.
What is your evil plan?
I don't know. There's so many stages of this. What's my evil plan? To litter the entire world with glitter.
It's so good, dude. Okay.
Stop.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. I like this. Glitter Weasel. Okay. I hope our characters can work together. I thought of a name. I'd be Mr. Calamity. My black gloves, I'm just like calling you up. I'm just like, yeah, Glitter Weasel. So I'm going to do this thing if you want in on it. No, we're not doing the glitter thing. I'm not going to help you with the glitter thing. I'm not going to do this. Why do you want to do this? Yes, I got
your birthday card, and yes, a bunch of freaking glitter fell out of it.
I want to think that, like, the end game for this, though, is they're like, why do you want to cover the world in glitter? And he's like, oh, it's my namesake. But really, he's just a really big believer in aliens. And he's like, the only ways we're going to get the aliens' attention is to make this beautiful ball sparkle like never sparkled before. And I'd be like, okay.
See, and you did a good voice for it. It's almost like a little zaniness, but also a little like old gangster. So it's almost like a Rocket Raccoon, only a little crazy.
Yeah, I'm Glitter Weasel.
Yeah, exactly. It was good. That was really good.
Sir, you have a collect call.
We need to write a script.
From Glitter Weasel. Okay. I'll take it. I'll take the call. Oh, God. Anybody got to check on the hero? What do you mean there's just laser beam marks everywhere and there's no dead body?
He vaporized. Please tell me he just vaporized.
Is there a pile of dust or ash in there? No? Okay. All right. Well, we're still going to release the virus, right? Sir, there's just glitter in our warehouses. Oh, God.
That asshole.
Yeah, it's the worst day. It's the worst day, Glitter Weasel. Why do you? I like to think that my guy like exists in a world where there's also an anthropomorphic bipedal weasel who wears a suit and has a Tommy gun. He's just hanging out, but you're like the only one. This is so Batman. It's just like we just have like one weirdo. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of weirdos in Batman.
Oh my gosh!
All right. That was a lot of good questions. Thank you so much to everybody who wrote in the entire year long. We really, really appreciate it. If you ever want to shoot us a question, all you have to do is tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast to either of us. You can tweet at the official Critical Reviews account, which is @GoCritical, or you can tweet at me. I'm just at JimmyGood013. If you want to tweet something directly to Joe, you can tweet at
Lever_627. That's Lever just like Beaver, only with an L.
Exactly. And if you want to see us playing any of these games we were talking about beforehand, we are streaming Mondays and Thursday afternoons typically, or any night that I can. And we're over on twitch.tv/criticalreviews. I want to thank a few people. I want to thank This Is Daleb for our beautiful intro and outro theme. And I also want to thank the one and only Yoran Evers, our magical, wonderful artist who's always drawn stuff. If you ever want to check out his stuff and get a commission for yourself, check out at Jade Circle Art or at Niraj28 over on Twitter. He does such a good job. And if you happen to be a member of the Legion, you guys already have this art, but if you want to join us up today over on patreon.com/criticalreviews, you can get some of Yoran Evers' art for yourself. You can make yourself into one of our lovely Legionnaires, and it looks so very, very good. But, Joe, I almost forgot to mention something quick here. I want to quickly salute Jonathan Larson. Thank you so much, Jonathan. We did this out of order today. I want to thank our $100 patron, Jonathan. We salute you.
Good man, Jonathan. Salutes.
Exactly. Very good. And as Jonathan likes to say, their fate concerns me. Yours does not. And if you do want to be on every episode and get a fully customized avatar just like Jonathan's and get a word, a phrase, or sentence or two spoken that you pick every week, then you can do that just for that price. But you can see how you can support us at any level. And the people who are supporting us, at that level or $1 or anything, if you're sharing us with a friend, we highly appreciate it. We recommend it too if you can't do it in any other way. So thank you, everybody who's shown up to watch this, share this around with a friend, share a review with a friend, do that, showing up to the streams. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. We're going to see you guys in 2018. Come back next week because we're doing the Critties. That's right. We're dressing up. We're gonna go over some awards. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a highbrow affair. Yes, I tried to do that with my eyebrow because if you're just listening to this, you probably didn't see that. So
Indubitably, sir.
Yes, it's quite nice. I don't. Oh,
unless you are.
What am I doing with my life? I'm just kidding.
I think we should do some sort of what's it called? Improv.
What do you, just like in general? Like they should let
in general. I mean, we're good at just making stuff up on the fly. We can put together a short little cartoon zany story in a minute.
I'm just hoping that we get some fan art of Glitter Weasel and Mr. Calamity working together on their latest stuff. That's just going to.
That was like a major hint. So anybody who didn't get us a Christmas present,
yeah, please, we have a PO box that you can find down in the description below. So send that our way, or if you make a digital one, just tweet it at us. We'd absolutely love it. I probably would hang it up somewhere if I got it. But anyway, thank you, Joe, for being on, and we will see you guys in 2018. Love and hugs to all of you, and just remember to adapt and overcome. See you next time. Bye.